Thrust simulation hardware taking shape at masses, installation of all the major pieces of the new OLM at Sanchez, final Star Factory steelwork in place at the build site, and the launch site is getting cleaned up ready for Flight 6. Hey everyone and welcome on board RGV Aerial Photography's Starbase Flyover Update Episode 66. I'm Jeff A, and we'll be covering updates at SpaceX's Starbase facility, cruising at an altitude of 10,500 feet. These photos were taken on Friday the 15th of November. We'll start this week at the launch site, including a recap of Flight 6 before moving on to the Massey's test site, then Sanchez and the build site, so fasten your seatbelts and enjoy the flight. Before we dive in, you've asked us in the comments section to linger a little longer in these maps, so let's have a longer look at Proky's labelled map. It looks quite different as preparations for Flight 6 were in progress. Starting this week at Pad A, we see a full stack has returned. Both transport stands were still at the pad during this flyover. Looking at the OLM, we can see the alignment pins have been removed, so it wasn't long before the boosted transport stand would be taken back to the build site. During the flyover, the pad was actually closed for some initial full stack testing. Igniter tests were performed on both the booster and ship, as well as the normal grid fin wiggle test. Ship flight termination system installation was completed overnight on November 12th into November 13th. On Friday night, November 15th, Booster 13 would also be fitted with its FTS charges ahead of testing. On Saturday, the pad would be cleared and prepared for the test enclosure on Sunday, where a partial tanking test of all 4 main tanks would be performed as crews finalised preparations for the upcoming launch window. The ship transport stand then rolled back to Sanchez in the early hours of the 18th. An updated closure notice for Flight 6 was then released, revoking the November 18th closure and scheduling the one on the 19th. That flight opportunity would arrive with excellent weather conditions. As has been the norm, the timeline would follow nearly perfectly. Under blue skies, the tank farm would spool up, followed by pre-chill of the propellant lines and roll straight into fueling, first with Ship 31, followed by Booster 13. Liftoff took place right at the top of the launch window, with all 33 Raptor engines pushing into the sky, with nominal ascent through hot staging. The tower would be reported as go for catch at this point, and by the end of the boost backburn, the vehicle would need to confirm systems are good and for the flight director to manually initiate the catch. SpaceX would later confirm in a website update that the catch tower in fact failed automated health checks, which ultimately forced an offshore divert just moments after the hot stage was jettisoned. One interesting note on this flight is that at the end of the boost backburn, Booster 13 would be only travelling approximately 1400 km per hour. While during Flight 5, Booster 12 was travelling 500 km faster at 1900. This might have been solely a result of the flight path for the diverted landing. While the catch would not happen, this did not mean the end for Booster 13's flight, as it continued its return to the surface. Meanwhile, Ship 31 would continue with its flight, but more on that in a moment. Booster 13 appeared to follow a nominal descent to the soft landing in the Gulf of Mexico, once again proving the incredible reliability of Raptor 2, successfully lighting all 13 engines before cutting back to just 3 for the final splashdown. While the SpaceX feed was cut just as Booster 13 began to tip, many of the independent video feeds were able to catch the moment it hit sideways, ripping the methane tank off the top and igniting in a giant fireball. Here's a clip captured by Spaceflight Now, who were covering the flight in partnership with Lab Padre. As Ship 31 continued its coast phase, it would first travel on its side with its flaps pointing toward and away from Earth. With the addition of an in-space relight demo of a Raptor engine in vacuum, the ship would perform a roll maneuver around T+16 minutes. While we awaited the relight test, we would be given numerous looks inside the payload bay, loaded with the single banana as the comedic mascot of this flight. In the darkness of night, the relight demo would occur at T+37 minutes and 45 seconds, lasting just 4 seconds. The broadcast feed would show engine shutdown, though with an approximate 3-second delay to telemetry. This would begin the second coast phase in darkness, while the composition of the heat tiles would once again put on a light show during re-entry, as seen in the most recent flights. While SpaceX had planned many test objectives to stress the vehicle, with accepted risk that a successful landing was not guaranteed, these tests would prove to be little struggle for the vehicle in the end. While the starboard forward flap would once again sustain some damage, it seemed to function throughout the flight, with burn-through evident along the hinge at the forward and aft ends, unlike the middle seen during Flight 5. As the flight clicked past T+58 minutes at roughly 60 km in altitude, clouds began to appear below as it flew into the sunrise over the Indian Ocean. Over the next 4 minutes, the speed would begin dropping dramatically, as well as the heating on the heat shield would wane. As 26 kilometers in altitude arrived, Ship 31 would reorient itself for its belly flop maneuver until it reached approximately 3 kilometers above the ocean, where they pitched nose down for the final moments before attempting the soft landing, as highlighted in the planned test objectives for this flight. It was then at T plus 1 hour 5 minutes and 9 seconds that the 3 sea-level Raptor engines were ignited for its soft landing attempt. Ship 31 would follow its predecessors by successfully soft landing under its own power. This time in the morning sun, where a ring of buoys and other tracking assets offered live views of the heat shield that was missing several tiles, but overall in good condition for having flown with the previous version of tiles in most places. Unlike Ship 30, this landing would result in the ship tipping over without the dramatic explosion. Though once laying on the surface, we could see it on fire as some areas broke open. Flight 6 would again prove to be a great success, learning much about the vehicles for developing the next generation. Elon would also post to X that with this successful ocean landing of Starship, one more ocean landing will be done, with a tower catch attempt to follow in the successive flight. It's also worth noting, putting aside partisan politics, President-elect Trump came to Starbase to witness this flight as a guest of Elon's. Social media is quick to share many of the interactions, including Elon demonstrating how Starship re-enters while at Ad Astra before the flight. Later they would tour the build site, getting an up-close view of the Raptors installed under Booster 14 for Flight 7. With the successes of Flight 6 behind us, let's return to the launch site with the remainder of our flyover images. Continuing at Pad B, the LR11000 has been laid down. Looking at the tip of the boom, we can see the jib head and hook block have been removed and taken to Sanchez for maintenance. Digging within the trench was idle again this week, however a drill rig installing tiebacks has been moved further along the sheet pile wall. Within the commodities culvert, the first set of pipe work started last week appears to be completed. This week, the long-awaited drawworks winch for Tower 2 arrived and was lifted into place shortly after unloading. Later in the week, the cradle and reel system for the spool of cable also arrived and it's staged for installation. The area between the two pads has been largely cleared and the soil pile once again levelled out. The conduit work near the comms bunker is nearly complete, with many of the pipes visible at ground level. The new commodities culvert is taking shape, with the wall forms filled with concrete. The formwork would be removed the following day. At the end of the tank farm, the excavated foundations from last week were completed. We can see the large rectangle is now prepared for a pair of vertical tanks. The pipe assemblies staged nearby over recent weeks have also been installed in the 2 subcoolers. We expect the additional pipes will connect between the 2 with primary supply and return flanges leading toward the highway, where they will likely connect to the current tank farm. Farther down the tank farm, the area in front of the methane tanks is further being cleared of the concrete wall, and the slab beneath this area is also being demolished for future development. The pedestals for the new tanks near the lock subcoolers have been finished ahead of installation of the tanks. With a clear path for the LR11000 to drive in front of the tank farm, perhaps we'll see these installed soon after the flight before construction once again fills the site. That's all for this week. Let's head over to the Massey's test site. Here's the labelled map to remind you of the layout of Massey's. Beginning at the salvage area, we can see that Booster 12's hot staging ring and Booster 11's aft dome are being scrapped. Moving over to the structural test stand, we can see the thrust simulation hardware starting to take shape. Unlike the previous can crusher, this rig will be able to apply flight pressures to all 33 engine mounts of a super heavy boosted test article. These 2 pieces, each holding 4 actuators, will join to the structure staged near the test rig that holds 5 actuators. Once connected together, they'll apply the flight light pressures to the centre 13 engine mounts. These have a flat connection interface to keep the test article steady. The outer 20 engine mounts will be attached to the existing ring on the test rig. The 20 blue rods have been modified for the new height and are staged nearby. These will resist the upward pressure from the rams below. With the upper 5 mounts and the new torsional mounts ready for use, we can expect the next test article to get a thorough workout. Now over at the static fire test pad, crews continue to work on the platform and have moved it to the far edge of the sliding flame trench cover. It'll be in the way here for the SPMTs to get under the main stand, so this is likely a temporary storage spot. That's all for Massey's. Let's move over to Sanchez. Here's the labelled map created each week by Proky. Looking over the site, it's getting quite crowded and busy once again. Let's start at the OLM construction area, where all sections are lifted in place, ready for welding work. Scaffolding is already installed on the inside for work there, in preparation for the hold-down arms to be installed. The inner rings of the structure are now connected in 2 places. The remaining 6 should be connected soon, as well as the remaining wall sections. Nearby, additional assembly is seen on the top deck pancakes, with 3 of the 8 pieces together with 3 additional pieces waiting for their partner. Next to the white tanks, the I-beam structures fabricated appear complete. There is growing speculation these may be for the flame trench hole cover under the OLM, though it could still be for the flame bucket. At the chopsticks carriage and QD arm area, the remaining gas accumulators are ready to be installed into the carriage. Also nearby are these protective covers for the accumulator tanks, suggesting the install should be soon. Both chopsticks and QD arm didn't get much attention this week, but they should be ready soon. The crane yard is still taking its final shape, with SPMTs and a crane already there. Do you think this will be the permanent location? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Finally, at the rocket garden, we can see that some cutouts are being made in the concrete, like the empty ship stand that has new legs that may pin to the stand. These lead to the 8 potential leg locations for a booster stand that may require similar electrical or hydraulic connections for the pinning mechanism. Now flying over to the build site, where production of Starship and Super Heavy boosters continue to chug along. Here's another look at the Sanchez and build site map. Starting with Mega Bay 2, the worker access platforms for heat shield installation have been moved inside the bay and installed. In the bay itself, Ship 34 is under construction with its last section, the aft section, being rolled into the bay on the morning of November 18th. Thanks to La Padre for these ground views. Moving on to Mega Bay 1, SpaceX last week shared a post on X showing boosters 14 and 15 in the bay, with booster 13 rolling out to the launch site on November 14th. The next day, booster 16 had its methane transfer tube installed as seen by this La Padre Rover 1 footage. As we move past the vacant high bay, let's take a look at the Star Factory. Starbase Surfer captured this shot of the tallest hallway of the factory, where the nose cones of 3 ships are being worked on in various stages of completion. The nose cone on the left, possibly Ship 35, is closest to completion with heat shield tiles being installed. Staying on the ground, a giant brand new illuminated SpaceX logo has been installed on the north-facing wall of the office building. We can also see in this photo taken by Brandon Wynn of Interstellar Gateway that some floors of the office building have had their lights switched on. Now moving on to the crane yard, we notice the trenches are being dug for electrical lines and services. One popular idea for this area is that it's for new workers' accommodation. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Before we finish up this week, let's have a quick look at the sushi restaurant where we can see roof framing going up, replicating a Japanese pergola. And that's it for episode 66 of Starbase Flyover Update. Thank you for choosing to fly with RGV aerial photography, and I hope you all enjoyed the flight. If you liked what you saw today, please subscribe for more episodes and content so you don't miss out on the new videos each week, and leave a thumbs up. I'd like to give a special shout out to the RGV team members who made this video. Peekaboo, Proky, Stephanie B, Vanta, DJ Esmeralda, BJ and Jadu. I'm Jeff A, and we'll see you next week from 10,500 feet.